Good afternoon, all. Thank you for joining us today. We'll get started here in just a little bit. We want to make sure everyone can get in. All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. My name is Drew Thomason, and I'm here today to facilitate what is hopefully a great conversation with you about what Illinois' workforce development system can do over the next 4 years to best serve its customers. Before we get started, can I get a quick show of hands or a thumbs up if you have used the workforce system in your life in the past? All right, got a couple, 3 people, 2 people, not bad. Great. Well, we look forward to the conversation today. The one thing that I will add about the presentation before really getting started is that this is intended to be a very interactive presentation. So I guess the length of it will depend on how much you want to chat today. Also, this is the start of an ongoing conversation. We don't want you to think like today is the only chance you have to offer your feedback. And so we will be outlining other ways for you to interact as we move through the development of a 4-year plan for our workforce system. So again, our purpose today is to discuss the concepts that are being explored for inclusion in the state plan for workforce development here in Illinois. And we want to get your feedback on what we're putting in that plan. And we want to make sure that the workforce development system can succeed by serving you. So we want to make sure that we hear your needs and adjust the plan accordingly to make sure that it best serves our customers. We're going to give just a little bit of background on the Workforce Innovation and Opportunities Act to make sure everyone can kind of participate in the chat. And again, that Workforce Innovation and Opportunities Act, you might hear me say WIOA. When I say that, I mean that Workforce Innovation and Opportunities Act. But really what we're talking about is the workforce system as a whole. We will review kind of what's in that plan for WIOA and then ask for your feedback around the vision, the strategies, and the activities that the state is currently exploring. So before we go any farther, I want to pause here and see if anyone has any questions about our purpose today. We have a couple of ways to interact. You can either put something in the chat. We'll be monitoring that, as well as the Q&A. And we'd love to hear from you too. So if at any point you want to ask a question or make a comment, just raise your hand and we will make sure to get you unmuted so you can come on the microphone and be heard. So Illinois, we have a workforce development system that really strives to provide our workers and job seekers with the training, the skills and the support they need to develop and navigate a successful career path. We want you, our customers, to be successful. The workforce system also strives to help employers find and retain skilled workers. So really, we're looking at connecting the workers, the employers, the workers and employees with the employers who need those skill sets. So to ensure the efforts of the workforce development system are focused, cohesive, and symbiotic, every 4 years, the state develops a strategic plan for the system. And we are currently in that development process. Excuse me. So I mentioned the Workforce Innovation and Opportunities Act, or WIOA, but what is WIOA? Well, it is federal legislation that is designed to strengthen and improve our nation's public workforce system and help get Americans, including youth, those with significant barriers to employment, into high-quality jobs and careers, and to help employers hire and retain skilled workers. WIOA strategically aligns those core workforce development programs. It also fosters regional collaboration within states through local workforce areas. We recognize that Illinois is a big state and very diverse, both in its geography, its population centers, and the jobs that are available throughout the state. So WIOA wants to make sure that all of that is taken into account. American Job Centers under WIOA provide individuals with career planning, connection to training programs, basic adult education skills, and job placement services. They also offer services for hiring and placement, local labor market information, and employee training. Our American Job Centers across Illinois provide information about local and federal resources that can assist with business decisions, including marketing and economic development opportunities. So a quick show of hands, or again, put it in the chat. Do you know where your local American Job Center is? All right, we have a few people. That's good. 3, 4, fantastic. 5, great. So several people do know where that is. Thank you. So now that we have a little bit of that context around the state, around WIOA, let's talk a little bit about the state plan that I've been mentioning. So the Illinois Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act state plan acts as a vision of the governor's integration of workforce, education, and economic development policy and programs for the state of Illinois. Basically, it is the vision that says, here's what our workforce system should be doing over the next 4 years to best serve customers, both individuals and employers. Also, the state plan is a federal compliance document that is required by the United States Department of Labor, as well as the Department of Education. The plan is broke up into 2 basic sections. One we call the strategic elements, and I'm going to go over these, but this is where we do an analysis of the state's economic conditions, the workforce characteristics, and the workforce development activities. We take all of that context, and then we develop a vision and goals for the system, as well as strategies to help carry out that vision and goals. Then we'll move into the operational elements, and those are the places in the state plan where the state makes real commitments, specific commitments around activities they're going to do, we're going to do to carry out that vision, goals, and strategies. So let's talk about the economic analysis. Um, Although Illinois has a somewhat higher unemployment rate than the nation at large, there's also a higher labor force participation rate. So in both geographies, the labor force participation rate remains lower in 2023 than it was in January of 2019. Labor force participation obviously fell in April due to the pandemic and stayed down for a while, but it gradually recovered throughout 2021. And by January of 2022, the rate of people participating in the workforce had almost returned to our pre-pandemic levels. It's remained pretty stable throughout this year. So people are getting back to work. That's at a statewide level. We also understand that depending on where you are, it could look very different. Unemployment varies considerably within Illinois by region and even by county, and even within county by other locations. So the place in the state that has the highest unemployment rate is what we call the northern state line. So that's going to be the border between Illinois and Wisconsin. It has a unemployment rate of about 6% compared to the 4.5% unemployment rate in the state as a whole. There are 3 regions in the state that are tied for the lowest unemployment rate at about 4.5% or 4.4%, so just under the statewide average. So those regions are the northeastern, so think right above Chicago and Cook County. The southeastern, so again, that's the farthest part of the state bordering Kentucky. And then the southwestern, so that's going to be the southern part of the state bordering Missouri. But even within these regions, the unemployment rate can vary greatly. And that's all to say that the state looks at this and says, how can we best spend our dollars? How can we best allocate our resources to help the state as a whole, but also to help those pockets throughout the state? I'll pause here. I see Sherry McIntosh has her hand up. Sherry, do you have a question? I think you should be able to unmute your mic now.
Yes. My industry has had a lot of layoff and it's logistics. So what do you do in that sense where you've worked in that area for like 10 years and that's what your resume says? How do you do something different or how do you go back into that industry?
Yeah, that's a great question. And we're going to talk, the next few slides are about the industries and the shift in industries we see over the next few years. So part of what WIOA does is it helps individuals and workers just in your situation, Sherry. It helps them, we would say upskill or reskill. So the first thing it will do is try and help you find a job within your existing industry or within something that matches your resume. But if you can't find one in the geography that you're in, or it's just not working out, the state will help you with training to add the skills to your resume that employers are looking for. So it'll say, we're looking for employee, we see that employers are looking for workers with this skill set in this industry. So we want to help connect you with training to achieve those skill sets in that industry. So it's a great question. And I would say that that's kind of what the workforce system, one of the key focuses of the system. But yeah, go ahead.
Oh, you answered.
Great. Thank you. So that was a great segue into looking at the industries or the sectors in the state that the state is looking at and how they are projected to move over the next 8 years. So we have a group of really smart folks from a bunch of different state agencies they come together and they do this analysis on industries. And they kind of chop them up into three different categories: the leading, emerging, and maturing. And how a sector or industries is categorized depends on whether there are more jobs and workers in Illinois than the national average. And also if those sectors are expected to increase or decrease over the next 8 years. So the slide you see here, these are what we would call leading industries. This is where Illinois has more jobs and workers than the national average. So we have a higher concentration, and we predict that the number of jobs will increase over the next 8 years. So we have a higher concentration of these jobs and workers than the rest of the nation. And we see that only being positive. We're going to keep on growing those numbers, right? So that includes transportation and warehousing, an area that Illinois has always kind of led in, financial activities, manufacturing, professional and business services, and then utilities. So those are the five sectors where we see as really growing and leading the state over the next 8 years. Now, this can be very different from your geography to a geography. So one part of Illinois, this is Illinois as a whole, but we know that, again, manufacturing might be growing in one part of the state and declining on another part of the state. And the way our system is designed, our local workforce areas have that information to help focus their efforts. But again, today we're looking at the statewide level. Then we have emerging industries. So these are industries where in Illinois we have less jobs and workers than the national average, so a smaller concentration, but we see those numbers going up over the next 8 years. So these are the industries that are kind of on the rise, and we could maybe they might move into a leading industry. So these are where, we're going to be adding jobs. So healthcare and social assistance, retail trade, agricultural production, leisure and hospitality. So again, that's hotels, restaurants, the government, and construction. Obviously, there's a different levels of increase over the next 8 years, but these are the ones that we see are predicting to grow. So this is where some of that demand is really going to be. And then the last one is what we call maturing industries. So here we have that higher concentration, right? So we have more workers and more jobs than the national average. But the number of jobs are anticipated to decrease over the next 8 years. So we think that these industries, for at least now, have kind of reached their peak, and they're going to start to back off over the next 8 years. So we're going to predict that we're going to be losing these jobs, some of these jobs over the next 8 years. So that's going to be wholesale, trade, personal and other services, and then education services, so teachers or schools or colleges. I'm going to pause there, kind of let you reflect on that and ask any questions you might have. I see one question coming in now, so I'm going to look at that. But if you have any questions, or let us know if these this analysis doesn't meet the reality that you see, please let us know. But I'm going to read this question and answer it. So we have a question that this is good information, but what's the pay scale of these positions? McDonald's is $14 an hour and Walmart is $14.50 an hour. So, how does pay scale come into this? And pay scale doesn't apply to what we just went over. But I will say one of the core tenets, again, of WIOA is not just connecting people with a job. It does want to do that. It wants to connect people with jobs, but it wants to connect people with good jobs. So it's going to, if you connect with the workforce system, you will talk to career guidance, someone who's like a guidance counselor, and that help you decide kind of what path you want to go down. And then it will connect you with the training that can help you do that. And then I also see that someone was asking about transportation. Um, Uber can get expensive if you don't have access to public transportation. And public transportation, you're operating on their schedule, and that might not align with your work schedule. So yes, that is something that we have identified as an issue and are looking at how to better provide assistance for that. I know that there are dollars, maybe not for once you're employed, but when you're doing the training, there are dollars there to pay for transportation or childcare while you're doing training, to make sure that you can participate in that training, because we recognize that those are kind of areas that can be major obstacles to individuals. I see a couple other questions. What is connected to the expected decline in jobs in educational services? I would have to take that back to our data team to ask them where that projection is coming from. So I don't want to hazard a guess and be incorrect. So we will make sure to ask our data team about that. Then another person asked, does IDES, Illinois Department of Employment Securities, allow workforce development training while receiving unemployment? And yes, so this is a system where the whole idea of WIOA is to take unemployment, IDES, and connect those people with job training to help you. So the whole conceit of WIOA is that we want to help you move forward and find a good job. Great questions. Thank you. All right. Oh, I see a few more questions coming in. I just want to read those. Some of these I'm going to put down in my notes, and we will reconnect with you after this, because some of these are really good questions. But they are programmatic questions, and I want to connect you with the people that can help you. I had a person ask, does WIOA assist with contract research organizations for pharmaceuticals? I don't believe so, but again, that might be a question we'll take back and see if we can find an answer to. Then we have someone asking, why does it take so long to get the job training or schooling? Again, we want to make sure to connect you with training or schooling as soon as we can. So whoever asked that question, you asked anonymously, if you feel comfortable with it, if you can pop your email in the Q&A even, or just a private chat to me, we can reach back out to you. And Sherry, I see your question, and we will connect with you too. So in addition to looking at kind of like where are our jobs going to be in the future, another thing that we look at is, what are the skills gaps? So what are employers looking for compared to what the workers have? So something that we found is that employers are looking for candidates who have in some way demonstrated their skill sets. So that could be a certificate around a specific skill. That could be an accreditation, that could be a 2-year degree, or that could be a diploma. While we were looking through this, we found that we have a gap here in Illinois between what we call certificate earners, so those people who have those credentials, and openings requiring those certificates and degrees. So that means there are more job openings than potential employees. So there's a gap between those skills and kind of the being able to demonstrate those skill sets and the jobs that are out there. So there are job openings. It's just a matter of getting skilled up and done so in a way where you can demonstrate that to employers. Well, we also found that the opposite is true for a bachelor's degree or higher. So that we have more bachelor degree earners here in Illinois than there are jobs available for them. And there are exceptions. There's always exceptions, but one notable one is software engineer. We have a huge gap between the number of people in Illinois that are becoming software engineers and the number of job openings. So there's, software engineer is a very viable career path. And then the last analysis piece that we did is we do a self-analysis, right? So we've been talking about kind of outside factors that are impacting individuals and employers. But the workforce system also looks inward and says, how are we doing? What can we be doing better? It looks at our areas of capacity. Do we have the capacity to serve job seekers? As well as what are our strengths? What are our weaknesses? There's been a lot of efforts over the past 18 months to do that in addition to this plan. And we think that is a strength of the workforce system itself. But we also recognize that the workforce system can be kind of confusing to navigate. That's for everyone, employers and job seekers and individuals. We've also found that there's a lack of awareness among the general public about what the workforce system has to offer. And there's also a struggle to track and to serve individuals who might move between different service delivery areas. So if you start out in Chicago and you move to Aurora, it can be hard to kind of transfer those skills or the work done in one place to another. So I'm going to pause here again and ask if you have interacted with the workforce development system, and that includes unemployment insurance. What are your experiences? What worked well? What caused issues for you? I see a question while you were contemplating that, asking, how's it looking for the HR business leadership sector? So I'm going to go back a couple of slides. HR would fall under professional and business services. So we do see a rise over the next year in the number of jobs in that, and that's not going to be specific to HR business leadership. But it's a small increase in the jobs in the professional and business services sector, not a huge increase. All right. Well, we will keep on going. So we've done that analysis. The state has been working on that internal analysis of itself, and then looking at all the numbers around unemployment and what jobs are going to be where, and where jobs going to be growing, and where jobs going to be going away, and all of the work that was done in the previous 18 months about asking stakeholders such as individuals, job seekers, employees, and employers, and asking them how the system can benefit them. And based on all of that, have developed vision, goals, and strategies for the next 4 years. These are all in draft currently, so nothing is written in concrete, and that's why we want to hear from you. But we're going to go now over our draft vision for the state. So in May of this year, Governor Pritzker convened a group of state agency directors, employers, labor and community advocates, and like I said, other workforce stakeholders. And based on everything that I mentioned previously and the feedback that we heard at that session, the governor has kind of come up with this draft vision for the next 4 years. So I'll read that to you now. Illinois' workforce system will meet employers, job seekers, and community members where they are, centering the customer experience in an interoperable, equitable, and accessible manner to ensure all customers achieve their goals. We will support employers by building diverse, quality career pathways and providing effective training, education, and economic opportunities for job seekers and communities to thrive. So that's the vision, the draft vision. But it's very, there's no like definite outcome there. There are a few outcomes, but it speaks to what we want our workforce system to be like and to do and to feel. But we also set some goals for the workforce system. So the first goal is that the workforce system is an example of excellence in its approach to collaboration and to customer service. Secondly, the workforce system will enhance employers' abilities to hire and retain skilled workers that meet their emerging needs. And then lastly, the workforce development system will use customer-centered and data-informed practices to improve the quality of the job seeker experience in pursuing fulfilling career pathways in a manner that is equitable and accessible. So the thrust of this webinar today was for job seekers and individuals. So I want to ask you, especially on that third goal, what's your reaction? Do you think in 4 years, if Illinois has succeeded in achieving this goal, will that help individuals and job seekers? All right. Well, we will keep moving. If you have any thoughts, again, please put them into the chat or the Q&A pod that is also working for us, or go ahead and raise your hand and we'll make sure to turn on your mic. So we're going to keep on drilling down and getting more specific. In addition to those goals, the state's kind of developed some strategies to help us achieve those goals. So this is the goal about making sure that the system is an example of excellence in its approach to collaboration and customer service. So the workforce development system would use a customer-centered approach to service delivery. And when we say customer-centered approach, that means when we're designing a program or a building or reaching out to customers, the first thing that we think about is what are their needs and wants and what will help them the most, instead of taking a compliance-driven approach, which is what do we need to meet the compliance aspect of the law, to be in line with the law. No, instead we want to look at and say, what does the customer need from this system and how can we achieve that? Secondly, we want the workforce system to center equity and access. That's been a major focus of the governor, as well as the workforce system over the past 18 months. Something that was highlighted by the pandemic is that our systems aren't always equitable, and they don't always provide equal access to individuals. So how can we, as a system, embody the ideas of equity and accessibility? Third, that our workforce partners and other systems in Illinois will work better together because they're serving the same people. They're the same customers going to both. So we want them to work better together. We want job seekers and employers to have a broader awareness of the system and what the system does. And then we want to have enhanced service delivery that supports our frontline workers. I'm going to pause there. I see a question coming in. Or I guess a statement, but I'll read it. It is WIOA has assisted many with building career sessions for enhancement of their skills in manufacturing and assisted customers with educational advancements and improved the skills of job seekers. Thank you. I think that's what um, we would hope everyone would take away from the workforce development system. But I want to pause here and ask you a question specifically around awareness of the workforce development system. So I asked earlier how many people knew where their American Job Center was. I want to ask, either answer this in the chat, or you can do in the Q&A pod, or turn on your mic, or just raise your hand. Like, how many people know what the system offers to individuals and job seekers? How many people could say what the workforce development system provides job seekers right now? How many people had heard of WIOA or the before today? We have a couple. Great, thank you. And I think that heard of WIOA from LinkedIn. Yeah. So I think what we're seeing here today is representative of what we see throughout the state, and that is probably not the best awareness of the system. And if you are aware of the system, maybe not everything it has to offer or the services that could best serve you. So over the next 4 years, even starting with sessions like today, we're going to be trying to raise awareness of what the workforce system can offer you, and then how you can access those services. Yeah, James, that's a great question. So someone asked, how are we supposed to know about WIOA? Is it advertised? Right now it is not, but that is something that we are actively exploring doing, is an advertising campaign. So whether that would be a TV commercial or on the radio, what that would actually be. But it would be making sure that people are aware of the workforce system here in the state and the systems that it provides, and taking all avenues. So paid advertisement through television and radio, as well as maybe some social media, and really trying to meet people where they are. Great. I'll pause here and go through this real quickly. But again, this goal is really around supporting employers, and given that today we're focusing on job seekers and individuals, I don't want to belabor this point too much, but another goal was helping enhance employers' abilities to hire and retain skilled workers. So we want to make sure the system supports and informs and enhances employers' talent strategies. We want to make sure that all the partners in the workforce development system are working together to leverage their business services. We want to help employers incorporate tools and practices that promote a culture of equity and accessibility. Again, we want to make sure that equity and accessibility are so important for the workforce system that it is infused at all levels, from the system itself to those that the system interacts with. And then here on our draft goal number 3, these are the strategies under that goal, and these are the strategies that we're focusing on job seekers and individuals. So we want the workforce development system to use a customer-centered, data-informed practices to improve the quality of the job seeker experience and pursuing and fulfilling career pathways in a manner that is equitable and accessible. So what are some of our strategies for that? The workforce development system educates and supports job seekers about how to navigate the labor market. Uh, we want the workforce development system to interact with job seekers in the places where you live and visit, not necessarily make you come to an American Job Center, but meet you where you are. And then that the workforce development system uses a data-informed approach to reduce barriers to services for job seekers who have historically been marginalized. So I'll just pause there. And again, I'm going to ask for your reaction to this. Do you think these are good strategies? Do you think that this would help job seekers and individuals kind of tackling these strategies? What would help the job seekers and the individuals in the system? Colette, I saw you had your hand up. Did you want to speak, or was that just a yes, a yes? Yes. Thank you. Someone asked that if employers are aware of fidelity bonding insurance that will assist justice impacted potential employees. I'm unsure, but that is a great question because justice impacted or returning citizens are a core group that the workforce system is aiming to help and assist with over the next 4 years and help them find employment, find stable employment and good career pathways. So I'm unsure, but that is something we will keep in mind, especially as we're talking to employers. So someone said, this is good and it seems helpful, but the concern is the time it takes to look for employment on top of the time doing something like this takes. So you have to look for a job and do training. And again, the system is really trying to support you in recognizing that you have to do both and supporting you in that. So supporting you in getting the training and skills that you need to then and go pursue a career in the area that you want to pursue. So, but thank you for raising that. It, yeah. All right. So we've kind of talked about we're going to keep on getting more and more and more specific. So we've talked about our vision, our goals. We just talked about strategies. Now we're going to talk about some very specific activities the state is exploring, implementing over the next 4 years to help accomplish those goals in that vision. Oh. So these are still, the state is still drafting activities it wants to pursue. We have a couple of them here on the screen, and I'm going to talk through some of them. And then again, I want to open it up once I've gone through this for your reaction. And if there are any specific activities or areas where you see that the state or workforce system could support you and help you in pursuing your careers and finding gainful employment. I think we've already heard one in transportation. That's the kind of thing that we're looking for. So some of the activities the state is exploring is a virtual front door for workforce development services. We liken this to telehealth or mobile banking or any of those other services that you use in your day-to-day life that you can do on a computer or a phone. The state wants to explore how it can offer its services that way. Again, transportation can be an issue. So instead of asking you to come all the way to a physical location that could be 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 40 minutes away. We want to see what it's like, if it's possible, how we could do some kind of virtual service delivery to make it easier for you to access that service and to save you time and to lower some of the barriers to service access. The state is going to explore setting a good job standard for training programs, employers that the system works with. We realize that while there might be several training programs that offer the same certificate, not all of them will do so in the same way and treat those going through the program the same. We want to work with the ones that really support the trainees and employees and provides them with the support and skill sets that they need. And so we're looking at working with the Department of Labor here in Illinois to say, how can we create this list? So when you do come in and get referred to a training program, you know that that training program is going to be of a certain caliber, and you're going to be treated well in that program or by that employee. Again, I think this is getting at something that we've already addressed here, but develop a marketing plan for the system. So that would include TV advertisement or radio advertisement or paid social media advertisement, as well as other things like community developers going out into the community to spread word of the system through word of mouth. Alternative means of service delivery. Again, this kind of ties into that virtual front door, but some local areas have an RV or a van that has a bunch of computers in it that they can take to job fairs or to other areas in the community where there are gatherings, but that you could then access services that way instead of having to, again, go to a physical brick and mortar place. Just another way to meet the job seeker where you live instead of asking you to come to us. We also want to create a better referral system in local areas. Again, so someone who comes in for unemployment insurance gets directed to the right place where they can then find a training program that can help them develop the skills that they need to become gainfully employed and find a good job. And lastly, again, we're looking at how to provide tools and practices that really support diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility efforts in workplaces. So someone asked if there is a current list of WIOA centers. There are. We will, if you put your email into the Q&A, we can email you that link after this webinar so you know where those physical locations are. So again, I'm going to pause here and just ask, what other activities do you think the state could do to support job seekers? All right, well, keep on thinking on that, and I will keep on moving forward. I have a few questions coming in, so I want to stop and answer these. Is it possible to link an opening to WIOA when you are approved for unemployment? So Amy asks, is it possible to get a link to opening to WIOA when you are approved for unemployment? Yeah. Again, that goes back to that referral system and making sure that when you do apply for unemployment and are approved, that you are directed towards the WIOA services. Someone said hire more people to help with these programs. That is something that we've been talking about too. provide bus cards for transportation to the employers. Yeah, I like that idea. Thank you. All right. Well, I know we were scheduled for an hour and a half, but we've kind of, again, come to the end of the program today. But I want to leave you with some next train unemployed. Yes. Oh, yeah, that's a great idea. Thank you. I want to kind of lay out some next steps and more chances for you to interact with the development of this state plan. And again, treat this as an ongoing conversation. This isn't the end of our discussion today. We want to continuously hear from you. So the first thing I'm going to do before I read this slide and kind of talk about our next steps, I'm going to put my email into the chat. If there's anything that you think about that you have additional questions on or thoughts on, please reach out to me. So we're going to be developing this plan through December. Right now, we are doing in-person listening sessions, very similar today to what we did today, but they will be in person and maybe a chance for you to interact with others. I'm going to put the link to the registration page for that. So please, we encourage you to attend, or you can encourage others. Again, this isn't a job fair or anything. It's very similar to today, but we want to keep this conversation going, and we want to continue to hear from as many people as possible so we can write a plan and develop a system that assists as many people as possible in the best way possible. So those listening sessions have already started, and they're going to go through November, and they're throughout the state. So please check those out. Once we've wrapped those up, we're going to incorporate the feedback that we've heard today and from those in-person listening sessions into the development of the plan. That plan will be released for public comment in January. So you can kind of look through the plan, see where your information was incorporated. You can see other aspects of the plan that maybe we don't get around to discussing. You can offer comment on that plan. We'll incorporate those public comments, and then we're going to submit this plan to the U.S. Department of Labor in March, and it will go into effect July 1 of 2024. So that's the next several months for the development of this plan. Again, I want to thank everyone for their feedback and attendance today. And I'll just pause here one more time for any information or questions. Yeah, Sherry, I put my email into the chat. Here, I'll put it into typing directly to you too. And it is drewt@kebcpa.com. Oh, the chat is disabled. Sorry. Can you see the chat though? I don't think you can. Yeah, sorry all. Here, I've got an idea. Hang with me for just a second.
It's enabled now, Drew.
Okay, great. Thank you. There you go. Now you should be able to see it in the chat. I'm also going to I'm going to update a slide with it on it so you can see it that way. Give me 1 second and I will have that up. All right. Great. Yeah, I can see you, Sherry. And then I put it on the screen too. So please reach out to me with any questions, either about the state plan, or if you have a question about WIOA and services, I can try and connect you with the correct person. So thanks all. Appreciate your time today and hope to hear from you in the future.